In fantasy football, we want access to players on high scoring teams. One way to do that is by turning to the odds makers. Historically, the more points Vegas says a team is going to score, the more points they actually score, especially if we have two teams facing off in a potential shootout scenario. That got me to thinking, is there a way that we can leverage this type of information for season-long fantasy football contests? And the answer is a resounding yes. What if I told you 4 teams account for half of the potential shootout scenarios in 2023, according to odds makers? So who are these mystery 4 teams? What players can we target at ADP? Let's dive in. This season, the AFC West and the NFC North are scheduled to play each other in interconference play, and it has created the perfect storm for high-scoring game environments. First, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to like the Chiefs, so I'm not going to explain a lot here, but they are ranked number 1 in projected points per game by the odds makers. They were number 1 last year. We've got a pass-first offense with an elite quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, surrounded by quality weapons like Travis Kelce. Second, we have the Los Angeles Chargers. They finished 13th last year in points per game, despite Justin Herbert battling a rib injury and only having 4 complete games where they had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams together on the field. This is another pass-first offense with a high-quality quarterback, and they added wide receiver Quentin Johnston to the mix in round 1 of the NFL Draft. Superbook projects them to be the 5th highest scoring team in the NFL. That brings us to the NFC North, where we have the Detroit Lions. They finished 5th last year in points per game, and this year the books have them ranked 6th. The Lions, they're not a pass-happy offense like we've talked about with some of the other squads, but they do have quality weapons surrounding Jared Goff, and their defense was the 28th worst in DVOA, according to Football Outsiders, and they gave up the 4th most points per game. And lastly, we have the Minnesota Vikings, who finished 7th last year in points per game and project 10th, according to odds makers this season. Another pass-friendly offense with a quality quarterback, and they have great weapons. We've got Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and they added Jordan Addison in the first round of the NFL Draft. So in summary, by drafting players in our fantasy leagues from these teams, we're gaining high exposure to, number 1, a ton of really good players, but playing in environments we like, where they're on a pass-friendly team, high-quality quarterbacks, lots of opportunity for potential shootouts. In fact, if we only drafted players from these teams, not saying that's what we're going to do, but in theory, we would be able to cover 13 of 17 weeks with shootout potential. Additionally, we can't forget about the fantasy playoffs. So that's weeks 15 to 17, and that's where the big prizes are won. When we look across this group, the Chiefs, Vikings, and Lions all rank in the top 6 in expected points per game for the 2023 season in the playoffs. The Lions play the Vikings in week 16. You have the Chargers facing off against the Bills in week 16. And in week 17, the one you guys probably all know, we've got the Chiefs versus the Bengals. One other interesting note about these two divisions, they also boast 2 of the teams that Vegas sees as the most improved from a points per game perspective. First, let's start with the Denver Broncos, who brought in Sean Payton to hopefully help get Russ cooking again. The sports books have them at a 30% increase in points per game, up to 17th overall, where they finished 32nd in 2022. And then secondly, we have the Chicago Bears, who are projected for 18% more in the points per game department. And we're talking about a team where after Justin Fields and DJ Moore are drafted, most fantasy managers are ignoring them. So we have really cheap late round prices. So we've mentioned that you can get a lot of value late with the Bears, but what about the rest of the teams? So let's talk about the Chiefs first. They have the most shootouts projected at 8. And remember, this is a high volume passing attack revolving around Patrick Mahomes. So we can start in round 1 with Travis Kelce. Coming back in round 2, you can take Patrick Mahomes. If you don't want to spend the second round capital on quarterback, that's understandable. You can let it go. Having Kelce is still going to be great for your teams. But then coming back in round 6, you can take a shot at Kadarius Toney. I often try to let Toney fall a little past ADP. I think that's a bit rich, but round 7, he can come back around. And then you have Sky Moore and Rashee Rice that are going much later in drafts. So now let's turn our attention to the team with the second most potential shootouts, and we stay within the AFC West with the Chargers. Obviously, we have Austin Eckler going at the end of round 1. And folks, you could make an argument that he should be the first running back off of the board, given his production over the last 2 seasons. And then in round 4, you have your choice of Keenan Allen or Mike Williams. I prefer Keenan Allen. I think Mike Williams, the target earning profile is not quite where we want it to be. You can still get big plays out of him, but I think round 4 is a bit rich. But coming back in round 5, regardless of which receiver you take, you can usually get Justin Herbert in the middle of the round. And then finally, you can turn your attention to Quentin Johnston in round 8. So you have a real potential to come away with Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert, and Johnston. And then on top of that, you can wait until later if you need a tight end and tack on Gerald Everett. So now let's head over to the NFC North, and we will look at the Vikings, who have 5 potential shootouts. If you were lucky enough to draw the 101 in your fantasy draft this season, you're probably taking none other than Justin Jefferson. And then in round 4, you get access to a high upside tight end in TJ Hawkinson. Round 6, you could look at the rookie out of USC in Jordan Addison. And guess what? It's not expensive to get Kirk Cousins right now on Underdog round 9. And finally, we have the Detroit Lions, who are projected for 5 shootouts. And we start off with none other than the Sun God, who you can get in early round 2. And you can follow that up if you want in round 4 with Jahmyr Gibbs, especially if you're picking from the end of the draft. And after that, we still have access to more upside with Jameson Williams coming off the board in round 9. And Jared Goff goes at pick 125. So it's really easy to set up a nice stack where you can acquire all of those pieces or at least 2.